of course you're poor if you live in a regional area. Almost entirely you are poor. And you're comparatively poor. If you are the child of someone who's a wealthy businessman in Gunnedah or Glen Innes, you are poor compared to someone who's the child of a low-level businessman in Blacktown. And resources aren't there. There's been some improvement. There's gay and lesbian groups in some regional areas. Most of the time they still struggle. They keep people closeted, but they give them some social outlet. There's some Tamworth Rainbow Connections. They have social dances. They didn't seem very interested in the rally that I'm organising in Arida, but we'll have to see what the turnout that is like. But there isn't much for you if you cross those gender lines. And that's where the homophobia hits first. It hits hardest. Transgender people, if we take the broadest definition, are somewhere between 2% and 20% of Australia's population. We don't know exactly where, because they don't count us properly. We know we outnumber gays and lesbians. Same-sex attracted people are about 10 to 20%. So we're about the same numbers. Have you seen equality, equal numbers in any gay or lesbian organisation, in any gay or lesbian resource? Anything like that. GLBTI, right? You don't see 50-50, do you? Huh? And in the bush, that's magnified. We need to change that. We need to change that to something shocking. Because in rural areas, there's an epidemic of youth suicide, isn't there? We've managed to hear it from time to time. Now we've got some independents in Parliament. They're saying, oh, the rural suicide is a terrible problem here. And it is. It is shocking. It's like 2 or 3 times the national average. Until you pay attention to the figures and see what the trans suicide rate is generally. Can you imagine how much of the rural youth suicide are trans kids? 47% is the general rate. What's that magnified? And with this centralisation, with the way that everything gets focused in the way we do things in this country, and most of the rest of the world, the people in most need almost never get the most attention, the most effort. And if you look, as I said, gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, intersex organisations, well, at the moment they're worried about marriage. Marriage is an important issue. Intersex people and trans people forced to divorce regularly. But there's intersex kids being mutilated against their will or in contrary to their future will. It's not necessary, but it's not on people's agendas. Their needs are clearly greater. The trans suicide rate, the trans violence rate, Queensland. The violence rate that came out of a recent study, transgender male to female suffer 3 to 6 times the violence. 38% of transgender male to female in Queensland, according to the study, have been attacked with a knife, bottle, stone, or other weapon. 46% have been attacked with a fist. Was that on your newspaper front headlines? Have you either heard that statistic? It's been over a month. Shouldn't that have been on the national news? It's not. But there's a way to get there. Because we are numerous. We are legion. The stats we have are small. They're flawed. They're broken. But we know that the minimum estimate of sex and gender diverse people is 6%. 6%. 4% of all live births in this country are intersex. At least 2%. The American Psychological Association, which we know are fairly anti-trans, has at least 2% of the population are regular cross-dressers. suggest that's up to 20%. But we're not reached out to. There's no come out to us. But if there was, think of the power that that kind of population could wield. Think of the strength in those numbers. Think of the lives we could save if each and every one of us here just reached out a little bit. Just threw themselves out a little bit. And we don't all have to completely come out. Even those still in the closet or in the closet situation can still have an online presence with a pseudonym, something where they can have something where some kid at 3 o'clock in the morning logging on to Facebook or Bebo or something else like that can reach out and see, because through the internet now we have a weapon. We have a tool of mass education. We have a chance of getting this wonderful event. How powerful is this right here to each and every one of us emotionally? Now, how many of those people just in the city can't make a Christmas, can't get the courage, can't get past the fear, can't get past their parents, can't get online? The more we try and get past that tyranny of distance, the more we try and cut through those intersections, the more we demand that every organisation is representative and that does something about regional issues, the more we write to our politicians. I know it's old-fashioned, but it works. The more we do these things, the more we can change. There's not a word for more than 40% attempted suicide is there. Epidemic is not enough. Disaster is not enough. There's not a word. Shame is part of it, but it's not enough. That's not enough to cover that. Technically, as there has been transsexual genes discovered, this is genocide. This is coercive, neglectful genocide. And even that isn't really a very good term for what is going on, because this isn't lining us up like the Nazis did to transgender people, which is again something not communicated very often. We had looking triangles on our people, marched into those gas chambers the same as everybody else. They burned down the first transgender clinic in the world as soon as they got in power. Our history is this. Our culture is fragmented. But we can cut through that neglect. We can break down those barriers, and we need to. Because us here in this room, we're the privileged sex and gender diversity. We're the privileged intersex people. Because right here, we have support, we have community, we have enough money that at least got you here or is keeping you here in the city. And as much as that sucks and is shit and is not much at all and is barely enough to survive, it's more than a lot of other people out there have. And with what little you've got, you can do stuff to help them. And that's what I'm going to ask you all to do. Just a little. Spend a little bit of time in your day. Not a lot. Just write an email or two. Just try and be a little more out there. Maybe, just maybe, could save people's lives. We could make a difference because we have the numbers. We have the numbers to change elections. That's what 2% means, let alone 20%. That's the power to change elections. That's the power to change everything. And that's what a lot of other people out there have been using, and we can too. We have these tools. We're not used to using them. We're used to being squashed, powerless, for the way they want us. They want us to feel too scared to act. They want us to feel like it's hopeless. They want us to feel there's nothing we can do but just try and